Oh yeah, Harry Potter. I absolutely love Harry Potter. I love the books, I love the movies, I love the figures. It is my favorite thing of all time. So, when they announced that a new series was being developed for HBO Max, everyone was so ecstatic about it. Of course, they're finally gonna do justice to the books. The things that they cut out, they're gonna be put back in, so they tell the whole story of the boy who lived. However, I don't think it's a very good idea. There are many things that the series could go wrong that actually could destroy the whole thing up. So, let's talk about it. Number 1, the cast. I think it is safe to say that the Harry Potter series is one of the best cast movie series of all time. You have some of Britain's best thespians playing the most iconic roles that you can imagine. Daniel Radcliffe, Rupert Grint, Emma Watson, Helena Bonham Carter, Gary Oldman, Alan Rickman, Dame Maggie Smith, Imelda Staunton, Richard Harris, Michael Gambon, Robbie Coltrane. You have the best of the best in the business playing these major roles. The first thing that Warner Brothers needs to do correctly is to find a suitable cast to represent the same parts as the other ones had. However, one thing we must take into account is that the main characters, Harry, Ron, and Hermione, are 11 at the beginning of the series. So it is safe to assume that Warner Brothers is going to cast child actors from 10, 11, 12, or even 13 years old. And I think it is very unfair for them to actually try to put them in a situation where they're gonna have to face very serious comparisons to the previous actors and actresses. And I would like to believe that that's not gonna happen. However, in today's society, I think it is very, very likely that we're gonna see a lot of comparisons going on X or Twitter or Facebook or Instagram. Like, people couldn't get over the fact that they changed Ariel's appearance for the remake, so honestly, I have lost my faith in humanity. And I think it's gonna be very harsh for the newcomers to be put in that position. I don't think it is fair. I don't think it is absolutely necessary, and I actually think it's gonna be very harmful to them. I really hope that doesn't happen, but honestly, my hopes are not too high. Number 2, the world. Indulge me for a moment, if you will. Imagine Hogwarts Castle. Is this the castle that you pictured? Now picture number 4, Private Drive. Is this the number 4 Private Drive that you imagined? The Harry Potter world has been designed with such perfection that is now part of popular culture. It has been reused in video games and even in the theme parks nowadays. So I think Warner Brothers is gonna face a very difficult decision regarding how they design the world for the new series. Should they redesign Hogwarts from zero? Should they change the Burrow? Number 4, Private Drive, the Hippogriffs, the Mandrakes, the Deathly Hallows? And I think it's gonna be a very difficult decision because if they change things too much, they run the risk of alienating their previous audiences. If they change too little, I think it's gonna create a problem of what's the point of creating a new series if everything is the same. Honestly, on one hand, I would wish they would change everything so we can have a fresh perspective of basically the whole world, and yet I wouldn't want to see a new Hogwarts when the old one is so iconic. I think this is gonna be a very difficult decision to Warner Brothers, so let's wait and see how they figure it out. Number 3. The Law of Diminishing Returns. This is actually very curious because it's the other way around. If you haven't read the books, ask to your closer Potterhead, what do you think should have been in the movies that aren't in the books? Personally, I would say the background to the Marauders, basically all of Goblet of Fire, the attack on Hagrid and McGonagall during the Owls in Order of the Phoenix, the memories of Voldemort and Dumbledore's funeral and Half-Blood Prince. Personally, I think those are the core moments that are missing from the movie that should definitely have been there. And I am sure a lot of people who have read the books will agree with me. And here is the problem. I am dying to watch a new version of Goblet of Fire and Half-Blood Prince. However, we are not gonna start a series with those 2 seasons. We're gonna start with Philosopher's Stone. And here's the problem. Philosopher's Stone is a very good and faithful adaptation from the book. A new interpretation of this book is not gonna change things dramatically, if at all, because again, the adaptation is actually very good. And I think this is the hurdle that Warner Brothers won't be able to pass. People who have seen the series before, either reading the books or watching the films, are gonna finish the season, is gonna be like, well, that's it? We have seen it before. Well, yeah, because Philosopher's Stone, the movie, is a very good adaptation of Philosopher's Stone, the book. There are minor details missing, but they are very minor that it doesn't really change the narrative. Things are gonna get worse in Chamber of Secrets. Firstly, I think it's the most derided book and movie of the whole series, and the adaptation is actually even better than Philosopher's Stone. There is only like 1 or 2 events that are missing, but still, the story is going to be exactly the same as the movie. So people watching the series are gonna have to wait 2 years until Prisoner of Azkaban when things are actually gonna start changing. By that time, I think a lot of people is going to accept that this is completely worthless and abandon the series. And you're gonna say, this is designed for a new generation. Yeah, and guess what? That generation have access to the rest of the story in the books that by the time this series release are gonna be like 20 years old, and the movies who are also gonna be like 20 years old by then. So honestly, I don't think the series is going to survive as long as they expect it to see the real important changes from the books and the movies. Number 4, it's just not worth it. I'm gonna tell you a secret. People exaggerate how better the books are compared to the movies, because honestly, the movies are actually very, very good adaptations to the books. With the exception of Goblet of Fire, which is a piece of garbage, and Half-Blood Prince, which honestly is a very bad adaptation, the rest of the movies are very, very faithful to the source material. In regards of Philosopher's Stone and Chamber of Secrets, perfection. Prisoner of Azkaban, it's low-key a masterpiece that only requires like a couple of extra scenes to really flesh out the rest of the story. Goblet of Fire, yeah, no, destroy that movie. This one actually deserves a new series. Order of the Phoenix, this is gonna be very controversial. I think is one of the most competent adaptations of the whole series. Everything that needed to be removed from the book was removed in the movie. Again, there are a couple of scenes that I wish we got to see, but the same as Prisoner of Azkaban, only requires like a couple of scenes, and I am absolutely sure that they shoot it because there are images online about those scenes. They just could release an extended version of this movie. I don't think it requires a new adaptation. Half-Blood Prince. This one is gonna be very controversial as well. This one is a terrible adaptation of a very good book, and yet I think it's one of the best movies. Deathly Hallows are as close as they can be to the book. Again, there are little scenes and moments that are missing, but nothing to beat. So what's the whole point? I don't think it's worth it to retread the whole 10-year journey to create this story again for little details that are completely irrelevant to the plot. Ask people what they want to see in the series, and I don't know why 99% of them will say that they want to see Peeves. He is so irrelevant to the story that he doesn't do anything of importance in 7 books. You can count his appearances, it will only amount for like 5 minutes of footage, so I don't think it's worth it. Most of the things that are missing are little details that are completely irrelevant. Again, there are things that really need to be in the story, especially in Goblet of Fire. The whole Quidditch World Cup, the whole background of Barty Crouch Jr., Bertha Jorkins, Winky, those are things that are really missing from the story. And I think the only things that require an adaptation again are Goblet of Fire and the memories of Voldemort and Dumbledore's funeral in Half-Blood Prince. I just don't find it necessary, to be perfectly honest. I just don't think this is gonna be worth investing your time for another 10 years to get the same story that you can get either by reading the book or just watching the movies or doing both. I think that's a better solution than wait 10 years to watch it on screen. I'm gonna be very honest here. I really wish this series makes me eat my words. I want it to be so good that by the end of each season I go, I want to see the next one. I really love this world. I love the characters. I love the settings. I love everything related to Harry Potter. I want to see quality stuff coming out of it. So I really expect that this series really surpasses my expectations, as low as they are. However, at the same time, I wish they would just stop. Everything has a beginning and everything has an ending. The book series ended in 2007. We never needed a continuation to that story. The movies ended in 2011. We don't need a new installment. We don't need a new version of that. The story is told. It is finished. I wish we could learn to let things go. Not everything needs to be an eternal franchise. We don't have to have new installments of Harry Potter every year, every 3 years. We have the books. If you want to relive them, just reread them. We have the movies. If you want to see the story, just watch them. The memories I made about this series live forever in my mind. And if I ever would like to go back to Hogwarts, I can read the books or I can watch the movies, because all of those events live completely rent-free in my heart. So what do you think? Do you think this new HBO series of Harry Potter is a good idea? Do you actually think it's gonna be good? Do you think it's gonna get all the 7 seasons completed? Let me know in the comments below, and I will be seeing you on the next video.